Welcome to episode 19 of the Wheelhouse. I'm your host, Andrew O. With me this week, not Gus, not Sterling, Jacob Estrada. How are you?
Hey man, I'm doing pretty good.
You know, usually when we Skype in this past couple weeks, you always freak out like, oh, how'd I get here? And now look at this, we're in person. How did that happen?
I don't know, I just woke up one day and here I was. I think you kidnapped me in my sleep, actually.
Well, that's not possible because at the time, I was in Maryland. And then I went on a 3-hour flight to Dallas. And then I slept for 3 hours. And then went on a car ride for 3 hours. And now I'm in this place called Nacogdoches, if that's how you pronounce it.
Well, to me, that all sounds like a bunch of black magic.
Well, you're here too, so you're also a participant in this black magic.
Yeah, I guess so. And the way I hear it from people who actually are from Nacogdoches, it is pronounced Nacogdoches.
Okay.
So,
when I first saw that name for the first time, that we were shooting, I was like, that sounds so fake. How do you pronounce it, like Nacogdoches, Nacho Libre, or what? What is going on? Anyway, Jacob and I are here because we're on set. We're working on a film shoot for
yes,
SMU.
We are.
Every 2 years they do a feature film, and you are a PA, production assistant, and I am production mixing, so I'm doing all the sound on set. And man, this last week has been pretty taxing. To our bodies and our souls.
It's more mental than it is physical, honestly. The fatigue, I mean. Like, physically, you know, I've slept now, so it's like, yeah, I can do it again, but it's like, mentally, I'm like starting to burn out.
Yeah, but we've got a day off right now, That's why we're doing this. But, yeah, we could give a quick update to generally how things have been going. We've been doing night shoots, right? So generally we meet up and eat at like 6:30ish.
Yeah, and then we typically finish at like 8 a.m. A couple times we finished at like, what was that one day we finished at like 10?
We finished at like 10:30 a.m.
Yeah.
And so by the time we packed and then got back here, we were like sleeping at noon.
Yeah, so the shoots average 10 to 15 hours. And I think they're only going to lean more towards 15 hours as the production goes on.
Because they're kind of behind schedule, which is how filmmaking goes. Always behind schedule.
Yeah.
Always scrambling to get stuff, but...
always more to be done.
Yeah. And so after this break day, I think we're going to start doing day shoots, which is a whole nother beast because Texas summer, that's not going to be really fun.
No.
No. And also for me, on the sound side... doing this stuff outside is always finicky.
Oh, yeah.
So many unpredictable elements, and also loving them wide shots, which is hard because you gotta get that boom pull in, but you can't because it's, everything's so distant. Anyway, and just beside the time thing, which we've gotten into sort of routine, right? I think we've kind of the night stuff. But some of the places we've shot is a whole nother ordeal. Was it the second day with the mud?
Oh yeah, second day. I guess nobody expected rain, but we shot out in the forest, and it was horribly muddy everywhere. Like it had just finished pouring, so I had to help lug a generator, because obviously there's no power in the woods because it's the woods. So I had to help lug a really heavy generator through 6 inches of mud, and the mud got all over the equipment. Lots of our cables and lighting equipment and other stuff didn't work because there was mud inside the cords, so it took a while to clean that out. And it was really hectic.
Yeah. I mean, once I got there, I was okay because I set up my little station and doing stuff. But just moving cables around and just having to go back to the house was the worst because that path going to the inside the forest, it got worse and worse as people walked on it because it became more muddy. Yeah, that was not fun. And I didn't have boots. You had boots, so it was easier for you.
If it makes you feel any better, my ankles were horribly swollen from those uncomfortable rain boots. And they're still actually swollen now. It's just starting to go down.
So, PSA, don't buy $20 boots from Walmart.
No, do not do that.
Don't skip on them boots. And then a couple other places we've shot have been, especially the bar. There was a derelict bar that was called like Winner's Circle. Yeah. And you had to clean it out, right?
Yeah, I was, since I'm a PA, that means I basically help everybody who needs help on set. So I had to help the production design crew clean out this abandoned bar. And thankfully, I came a few days later, so I wasn't there at the very beginning, but basically this bar was been abandoned for about 5 years. It was chock full of like old beer cans and mold and rat poop, and there's grime and like black shit everywhere. We found a dead raccoon carcass in there, but we're not sure if it was a raccoon or a cat because like it was so decomposed. It was mostly just a skeleton and some bits of flesh on the skeleton.
Wonderful.
Yeah, no, glorious. But yeah, I went in with these like brand new work gloves I had just bought for the production, and by the end I was like, I'm burning these fucking gloves. I'm not washing them.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
I think a lot of my clothes too, I don't think we'll make it back. They're so gross. But for my side, doing production mixing, which I've done a little, but nothing on this scale at all, it's pretty stressful, especially the first day, having had a lack of sleep and semi jet lag and just all that time just sitting around in transportation, and then having to shoot that same day. I had to scramble, and because I didn't get a chance to look at the equipment, I had to kind of troubleshoot it on the spot, which I still have to do because a lot of the equipment's sort of busted. And also in a more general, even conceptual sense, how picture and sound is sort of separated. How pretty much on set all the focus is like getting picture looking nice and lighting and all that. And
Yeah,
sort of on one side it's kind of nice to have some freedom and just set up sound myself and just no one really's on my back. But then again, it's like, hey, there's some things I still need to know, but it's just sort of all the information is centered around the camera department.
And like they kind of just expect you to make stuff happen magically,
Which I try to do, but sometimes I realistically I can't. But I'm doing my best, and I'm learning a lot. And I think that once we walk away from this, even if things are delayed, or even if that whole movie turns out bad, I think this has been a great experience. That I'm glad I'm out here. So, you agree?
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't regret any of it.
Awesome. So, we would like to make this show short because we want to get out and eat because we're hungry.
Yeah.
So, let's get on with it. Usually around this point, I'd say, hey, if you haven't heard the show before, you may be asking what it's about. Well, let me tell you. Every episode, someone recommends something, a piece of media, like a book, a movie, a game, an album. And then that week, I or my co-host, who haven't existed for the past few weeks that they're dead, go out and experience those and then come back and review it. And then this week, I'm reviewing an album recommended by one Jackie Day. It's called Alvvays, spelled Alvvays. So, right off the bat, you could tell by that name. Probably an indie band. Being all fancy with them double V's instead of a W for Alvvays. And I thought, okay, I got that vibe right off the bat. And I don't know exactly why they did it. But then it struck me. I was searching about the album and the band on Google. If you type in Alvvays on any search engine, I there's no way you could find that band and album right off the bat, because it's just the word always. But if you type in Alvvays with this double V's, they always come up first. So I'm like, oh, maybe I don't know if they had that in mind, but it tends to work out that way. So that's cool, I guess. Anyway, Alvvays is a Canadian band. They released their debut album, self-titled Alvvays, on July 22nd, 2014. And when I heard it, when I first listened to the album, I thought two things which seem like they're contrasts with one another, but I think it still works out. Their sound is not original, yet it's sort of, because the execution is so stellar, it's definitely very memorable. I mean, yeah, genre-wise, it's just indie pop, and I saw a term called jangle pop, which describes this sort of genre. And yeah, all the songs are just 3.5 minutes, which is the typical time for a classic pop song. But like I said before, the execution is just so great. And people who know my taste in music know I love the melodies. That's why I love Elton John and Stevie Wonder so much. And this album's got melodies out the wazoo. It's so good on both the vocal front and the instrumentation. There's so many catchy hooks, and just such a great, vibrant energy to the whole thing. Also of note is the vocalist, Molly Rankin. Rankin. Isn't that funny? Because one of the characters in her film, Rankin Hobbs.
Oh my god.
Rankin, no.
Don't start it, dude.
Anyway.
Oh my god.
So yeah, lead singer, and I just assume lead songwriter as well, Molly Rankin. This is her show, pretty much. All the instrumentation is sort of just to back her performance. And her vocals are pretty great. She's got a very serene voice. All her vocals are put through a reverb that gives it this dreamlike quality. And in the spirit of sort of that indie vibe, it is a little deadpan-y, as another vocalist we'll talk about later. But it all works. It all comes together, and it fits. And the instrumentation, the backing is also sort of conventional for that genre, but they're married well together. And then the other big component I would like to talk about is sort of the lyrics and what the songs are actually about. They're very simple, but they're usually sweet lyrics. And what I like is that there's sort of this thematic unity to what all the songs are about. It's sort of these like almost snapshots of youth. There's sort of these daydreamy parts that sort of look at the future, and also this nostalgic aspect about the past. And there's a lot of, songs about loves, breakups, and whatnot. And my main criticism for this album is that I wish for a little bit more diversity and complexity to the subject matter. A lot of it is sort of what those things I've talked about. But, I don't think it really detracts from the songs itself. Maybe it's just, for me, wanted a little bit more there. And then what I also like to do when I talk about albums is make comparisons to other music. And apparently I make terrible comparisons to other bands and albums, but I'm going to do it anyway. Generally, I've talked about what the songs are about, and in particular the song Adult Diversion reminded me of a song by this band called the Velvet Underground you may have heard of. It's called After Hours. And
Never heard of it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, After Hours isn't on the album that we're going to talk about later, but it also features a female vocalist, and it's sort of this quaint, whimsical song, and just sort of the idea of I'm just going to lock myself inside and not deal with outside. It's kind of like the same vein. My favorite song on the album is called The Agency Group. I loved it. Love it, love it, love it for the melody. And just in general, there's a song I don't like. There's no songs that I don't like on this album. I feel like I'm probably going to listen to it a lot because it just is so nice to listen to. It's just pleasant because there's so many catchy melodies in the whole thing. It's very lush. So yeah, I think that's all my notes for Alvvays. I would highly recommend it. Maybe you should listen to it in your spare time. But we're making a movie, so we don't have a lot of spare time. And in the spare time you have to listen to an album for this segment we're going to do now. Who is Bruce Springsteen? Inspired by your musical ignorance and not knowing who Bruce Springsteen was. And for today, we are talking about... What are we talking about, Jacob? What album?
The Velvet Underground and Nico.
Yes, by the band Velvet Underground. This is their debut album, released on March 12th, 1967. I told you a little bit about it yesterday, especially about how experimental it is and how it kind of failed when it was released. So, Jacob, you've been listening to it when you can this past week. What did you think?
Well, unfortunately, because we've been so busy, I did have to rush through another album. And so I would like to go back and listen to it again a couple more times and, really try to soak it in, like, one song at a time. But, initial impressions, just with, what I did absorb, you were definitely right about it. Hold on, do I need to get closer to the microphone here?
We're just more centered. On axis, you can say.
Okay. You got me. But, yeah, you're definitely right when, you said it was very experimental and, very, very obviously controversial. One of the songs is called Heroin.
Yeah.
Like, right off the bat, I can see why this album did maybe not go over well with 1960s America.
Yeah, because I told you before, like, imagine people listening in 1966 to, Wouldn't It Be Nice, Beach Boys, and, Eleanor Rigby and the Beatles, and then you got, like, Heroin. the next year. I don't. That's no wonder they couldn't take it well.
And some of these songs, man, like Femme Fatale and Venus in Furs, which appear to be like surprisingly, shockingly sexual for like, you know, rock songs of the 60s. And one song, like the Black Angels Death Song, I just saw that title and I was like, holy shit, what is this song about?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is this? And actually, hold on, what is this one? I actually forgot what this one's about. Hold on, let me check.
It is sort of enigmatic. Exactly.
Yeah,
what it's
this
about.
was the one. Yeah, I remember. This was the one they said. It was no particular meaning. They just strung a bunch of words together. Still, that's an insane title. I was just like, wow, that's the coolest title.
It's striking. Yeah.
Yeah, the coolest title ever. Mm-hmm. But overall, I don't know that I can say I have a favorite song, but I can definitely say I was very intrigued by like the edgy. What's the word I'm looking for? The edginess of these songs, like the way they were so willing to just, you know, push boundaries on what you're what you're allowed to get away with.
Mm-hmm. And that's on both like a lyrical front and instrumentation too.
Yeah, I noticed which song, I don't remember which song it was now. I think it was Heroin actually, where they did it, but towards the end it got like extra intense and just like really like crazy and all over the place, like just really disorienting, which I'm assuming is, you know, because it's about heroin.
Oh yeah, what's so great about Heroin is that it plays what the song is about is the drug, but how they perform the song parallels that as well, because it starts off sort of, you know, very calm and slow, but then when he talks about start using it, it picks up the pace, it gets more energetic, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah. I love whenever they, you know, songs kind of blend that. Another song that just stuck in my mind. Again, I don't know if it's a terrible comparison, but there's a Billy Joel song called "The Stranger," and the song is bookended by this really calm piano and whistle, right? And then in the middle, it's like a very energetic rock song. But the song is about, you know, putting on masks and not being who you are. And so if you think about the song as having this piano calm thing on the bookends, it's kind of like, it's sort of, on the outside look different than what this song actually is in the middle.
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
Yeah, I love those things. But we can get a little bit more in depth with the songs. But first, I'll tell you a little bit about Velvet Underground.
Please do.
Yeah. Personnel, you got Lou Reed, lead singer and songwriter. Sterling Morrison on guitar. John Cale, notably on this album, electric viola on the songs Venus in Furs and Black Angel's Death Song, right? Very dissonant chords with the viola. And again, that's like not a typical instrument you would hear around this time. And also he was on the Celesta on Sunday Morning, which I think is the most poppy song on there. Maureen Tucker on drums, which is also notable, a female percussionist, which is really neat.
Nice.
And then Nico, who is a German singer, and she did lead vocals on 3 songs, Femme Fatale, All Tomorrow's Parties, and I'll Be Your Mirror. Yeah. This album, super experimental. Content, drug use, prostitution, BDSM. Lou Reed was an English major at Syracuse University and sort of wanted to combine sort of the heavy literary subjects that he was inspired by with actual music. So that's how sort of this came about. Also in the musicianship, a lot of experimentation. Lou Reed sort of created this thing called ostrich tuning, which is all the strings on a guitar are tuned to the exact same note. Which I guess, when it said like he created, I guess, you know, he was the first one to really use that and use it like musically. A lot of cacophonous sounds, especially with the viola, something like Venus in Furs. Like, it's very jarring at times, like assault. And deadpan vocals, Lou Reed. I mean, when I first listened to him, like, this guy can't sing. What is up with this? What did you think about his singing, Lou Reed?
I can definitely say it was interesting. I think my thoughts were a lot like yours, honestly. In that, like, yeah, can this guy, I don't know, can he not sing?
Yeah.
But then, you know, I took my musical ignorance into consideration. I was like, you know what? Maybe it's not my place to judge. Maybe it's too soon for me to judge this. Maybe my ears just aren't developed enough to appreciate it.
I went through that exact same thing. I listened to this album, I'm like, I don't get it. this guy can't sing. It just sounds awful. And I had to listen to a lot more music. And then when I revisited it, I'm like, oh, I get it now what they're trying to do. Once you have sort of developed this sort of musical, background, when you do have stuff that breaks away from that, you have something to refer to it and compare it to. Finally, the other most notable personnel on this album, Andy Warhol, eccentric artist.
Yeah, I've heard of him before, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure who that is. I know his name.
Yeah, he's an artist who did a lot of wacky things. He did the Campbell soup thing, like all the Campbell soups, like stacked onto top of.
Oh, I have seen. Okay, I've seen.
And then like all the other like prints of famous people and like with those like vibrant colors and stuff. I'm not a Warhol expert, but I do know that he is credited as being the producer for this album. But generally, it's agreed that he actually didn't do a lot of like work on the album musically. Mostly, he was sort of a patron, like kind of funded it and sort of supported, the Velvet Underground to sort of do what they did. Yeah, and also the album cover, the banana, very famous.
Yeah.
That was Andy Warhol's doing, and actually the original print of that album, it said "peel slowly and see." You could actually peel off the banana. The exterior is like sticker, and then there's
Really?
like an actual banana, like this flesh colored banana, like under it. Yeah. But that actually,
awesome,
leads into how the production and release, sort of a failure for Velvet Underground and Nico. Cover took a really long time to produce because of that sticker thing. There was a lawsuit about the back cover about the use of an image of a person that didn't want to be on that cover. And just in general, it's hard to find a label to even release the album because people listening to it are like, what the heck is this? We're not releasing it. And then Verve eventually decided to release it, but even then they did very little to promote it. So with all that, even when it was released, it was a critical and commercial failure. Like we said, it sort of went against the popular sensibilities at the time, but now it's regarded as highly influential and one of the best. So, any final thoughts on Velvet Underground and Nico? You want to talk about any more specific songs of note? Sunday Morning. Really cool.
Well, like I said, I didn't take notes for this one.
Yeah.
But I guess final thoughts of all the albums we've listened to, it might be like, I can probably say it's the most edgy, not necessarily most experimental because, or like craziest because, Beatles, the Beatles album we listened to last week had some pretty crazy songs. Mm-hmm. But in terms of just being the most willing to offend, and willing to go against what is allowed, this has been particularly interesting, and for that alone, I want to go back and listen to it multiple times and just try to soak in each individual song.
Nice. Would you be interested in listening to their other albums?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the next album, White Light, White Heat, is, I would say, even more experimental. They have a song on there, Sister Ray, that's 17 minutes long. That's just them just jamming out. But then there are two albums after that. One's also called The Velvet Underground, and Loaded are more typical rock songs, but still like phenomenal. But yeah, last thing I would have to say is actually my favorite song on this album is Venus in Furs, which I know Gus doesn't care for. I love that because there's no other song like it, and that electric viola, the sound in there is just so cool. Anyway, so I know you got allergy problems, so I could rush through this last part and then we could get out of here, go eat some Chick-fil-A or something. I gotta recommend to you one more album that you have to try and find some time to listen to, but it's short. I believe it's like probably between 30 and 40 minutes, which is good. It's What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, released on May 21st, 1971. We've gotten out of the 60s, and now we're in the 70s, starting with what I think is the best year of music ever, 1971. It's Marvin Gaye's 11th studio album, and it's one of the greatest soul and R&B albums of all time. It's a concept album, which we've talked about before with
the ones that tend to have continuing stories throughout the songs.
With this one, with the pet sounds, it's not sort of so much as a story. It's more like it's sort of the same theme. Whereas this one has a little bit more of a story. It's about a Vietnam War veteran returning home to find, this sort of the state of his community in shambles, and he's sort of lamenting the sort of suffering that's going on. And he's asking, "What's going on, man?" In addition, there's actually a notable song about environmentalism, which for 1971, pretty early and prescient. Also with the concept album thing, a lot of the songs sort of flow into one another. There's no like a song, fade out, silence, and another song. They all sort of continue, which is really, really cool. And musically, Marvin Gaye, he has some heavenly vocals. He's one of the best singers, and just there's a great Motown sound just backing the entire album. And this album is, for those reasons, this album is essential. So, I said, we're tired, we're hungry, you get allergies, let's try and get here under 30 minutes. We are at the 26-minute mark. So, I think we've made a brisk pace.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. And that is another episode of the Wheelhouse. What you can do now is send us some food because we're hungry.
Yes, we
are. Send us
are.
some clothes because they're dirty.
Yeah.
Send us some Red Bull because we're tired. But if you don't want to do those things, you could. Like our Facebook page at facebook.com/wheelhousecast. Follow us on Twitter at wheelhousecast. Subscribe to our feed on iTunes, where you can also rate and review us. And email us at wheelhousecast to send those Red Bulls through email. Don't know how you can do it, but if you can, that'd be great. Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah. Let's get out of here. Bye.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of something clever to say, but I'm like, no, I'm too hungry. But wait, there's one thing I forgot to do because I was in such a daze, was to play the recommendation for next week's review. I have a recommendation here from one Alex Placente. Sorry again for forgetting, but I'm playing it now, and once it's done, the show is really over for reals this time. Not joking, for real. I'm here with Alex. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, Andrew.
We just finished watching our movie.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Turned out well, by the way. Good job.
You did a great job.
You did too.
Thank you. Now, you are here to recommend something for the show.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's an application called 1010. 1010.
Why did you say application?
Because that's what app stands for.
And no one says application.
Okay, well, I don't know. You got to take up time. This is a podcast.
Okay.
Might as well.
A game.
The game.
On iPhone.
So basically it's called 1010 because it's a grid. Have you downloaded it? Have you looked at it?
I have not yet.
Okay, so you asked me to speak about a game that, for all you know, could be like horrible.
I will play it. Well, it could be horrible.
It's not going to be.
Okay.
It's horrible for your time management, but it's so addictive. So basically, it's called 1010 because it's a grid of a 10 by 10 squares, basically, and you have to. It's almost like Tetris, but better.
Whoa.
And worse.
I love that Tetris.
So it's basically like you fill in the square grid, right, 10 by 10, with a different assortment of like constants. Like there's an L shape and a single square box, and then there's some with like 3 and some with 2. And anyways, you have to like fill up as many rows and columns as you can, and as soon as you fill up one of the rows or columns, it disappears, which gives you room for more. And as soon as you run out of the given 5 or 6, it just gives you a whole other.
So you just keep on going until like you don't have any room.
You keep on going until you can't place any more pieces because you just don't have enough room.
Yeah.
And then you lose.
That's what I said.
And okay, that's what you said, but I'm just clarifying for those who are listening to this later.
Okay.
And the reason why it's so addictive is because there's never an ending point. You know what I mean? It's just beating your own high score. So it's this mentality of like, I can do better because I almost did last time, you know?
You said you had to like delete this from your phone a couple times or something.
Oh no, I've actually been late to school 3 times because I wake up in the morning and I play it, and I'm not even kidding.
Whoa.
Like you can't stop. You just can't stop.
It sounds dangerous.
No, Andrew, I'm telling you, I have not completed homework assignments because of this application.
And you're making me play this.
Yeah,
okay.
Eventually.
Luckily it's the summer when I'll be playing it, so I'll have some time.
Yeah, no, and honestly, Tell me what you think after you play it, because I had to delete it, and then I re-downloaded it again, and then I deleted it again.
True addict.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Okay.
I don't want to relapse again, so.
Well, I like a good game.
Yeah.
Like a good iPhone game.
Yeah. And I think you can do it on Android. Sterling, download it. Yeah. Sterling's downloading
it's
it.
dangerous. Well, I'll be playing that over the summer.
No, yeah, you won't be able to
And
stop.
you can hear what I think when I review it on the podcast. So
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good.
All
All
right.
right. Cheers.
thank you.